Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your co-host of Balanced Blue RJ, joined by my fellow co-host, champion mates, Scott Daguna, Rob the Red Devil. Always a pleasure to be back, especially unpacking the highly entertaining World Cup that has been so far. Scott, I'll come to you first. How you going, legend?
Yeah, doing well, man. It's we're hitting the exciting part now. Not that it hasn't already been, but we're getting there. One of these 8 teams, going to be FIFA World Cup winners in not too long. So pumped, man.
Absolutely. Final 8, mate. And Robbie, what's happening on your end, Ledge?
Yeah, just the usual, mate. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. No wake up for football for the first time in 2 weeks, mate. But
you might have some sleep, Rob.
I know. Look, the United do play at 5:30, so I've got something to look forward to.
And you're a machine. I don't know how the hell you make like every match. How many have you missed? What, 3?
I reckon 4? if I'm being real, I reckon I've missed about 8 matches. So I think out of like 50 something, it's not bad. So, but you know what? I don't even know how I do it.
And you watch the replays too, Rob, as well. So
I'm so bad.
Watching live.
I come home in the afternoon, 5:30, bang. I got the daily tea. I like to listen to all the daily podcasts. I don't know. It's just a World Cup thing.
No. You only listen to this one, don't you? It's just this one on repeat.
Yeah, on repeat, man. That's why we've got so many views.
100%. RJ, before you let us know how you are, got a few champions in the chat I just want to say hello to. We got Tom here from the United Pubcast. We love Tom's work on there. He rocks it, mate. Welcome, Tom. Antonio's here, or should we call him Oscar? Call him whatever you'd like. The concierge is here. My brother, repping the GOAT. We got George here, all the way from Greece. We love George. Lexak, another legend. Too many United fans here, though. And then we got Geordie, Emad, and Antonio already talking smack. Jesus gets injured and Scott's running to Madrid. Now, you know what? I thought that the GOAT was going to cop a hard time tonight, so I thought, I got to rep the team that respected him, made him a legend. But let's get right into it, boys. RJ, how are you, man? How are you?
I'm glad you asked, mate. So I'm flying. I'm absolutely flying. It's action-packed football. Certain goats are actually doing things. Certain goats are actually comparable to the actual animal goats themselves. But look, enough shade on Ronaldo. Let's focus on the games ahead, because the round of 16, it's safe to say it threw up some surprises, but also gave us a bit of expected outcomes, if we're being brutally honest.
Yeah. And I think, boys, in the interest of getting kind of to the point, let's just unpack a couple of talking points from the round of 16. We obviously did an in-depth video on Australia, Argentina. We won't go back there. But I want to ask you something. And if you've got any other points you want to bring up, let's do that too. Brazil. There was a lot of talk after their match, and they were brilliant. They played very well, some nice jogo bonito. But they were getting grilled a little bit in the media for their celebrations, the dancing, the coach getting involved. Old mate Roy Keane, now of the celebration police, saying it was disrespectful. How did you feel about it, though, RJ? What was it, overkill, what the Brazilians did?
Mate, they're flamboyant. This is their thing. I don't know why people get so excited about this stuff. They were playing Brazilian, particularly in the first half. They were on fire, mate. Look, of course they were expected to win, but just because you're expected to win, we've already seen in this World Cup, just because you're expected doesn't mean it actually follows through. So, mate, they can celebrate all they want. They were on fire, and I don't think they did anything disrespectful. I think it's actually quite sad that some pundits and players, they've lost their sense of just having a good time. Like, don't overanalyze, just accept it and don't criticize. So I think part of it's just media-driven frenzy, to be honest.
Fair shout. What about you, Robbie? Antonio says, don't want them to celebrate, don't let them score. It's simple. What do you think? And I already know your answer, Robbie, but go on. You tell me what you think about it.
No, I think it's fine, to be honest. Again, I'm not Brazil's, as a rival in Italian. I don't want them to win the World Cup, and but the celebration, that's part of their culture over there. And I think it was actually Vinny Jr. that came out today and kind of answered the critics at Keane, saying that's just who we are. We didn't celebrate in front of them. It's just it's a collective thing, and we're excited. That's just part of the Brazilian culture, man. So for me, I'm all for it. The only time I think I've ever seen overkill, I think it was a USA women's team that won 8-0 once, and I remember they were doing knee slides at 8-0. I think that's a bit over the top, but I think this is still, it's a World Cup, mate. There's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion.
Look, personally, I have to be devil's advocate. I did think it was overkill. I mean, you haven't just won the World Cup final. You're playing South Korea. You were clearly in control the whole match. It's not like it was a tight one and a massive outpouring of emotion. I did think it was overkill. I think the coach getting involved as well. I mean, I don't think you're ever going to see a Mourinho or a Wenger or a Fergie dancing with their players on the. I thought
it's a Brazilian thing. Honestly, it is a Brazilian thing.
Yeah,
it is a round of 16 knockout clash, and they were celebrating some good goals there. Like there was the second and third one. I know what you're saying. There's a bit. I
just thought it was too much for the first goal. Maybe you're excited, or if someone scored like a milestone goal or something, I get it. But I did think it was overkill. Like you weren't pumping France or someone. You're playing South Korea.
Or scoring equalisers against Crystal Palace in the Premier League, all these sorts of things, all that stuff. So
the tears will taste better if they lose eventually, for me anyway.
100%. I want them out now. I'm completely anti the Brazilian national team. George doesn't think it's disrespectful unless you're in front of them. If I'm Son or a Korean and I'm standing there waiting to kick the ball off, watching you do your bloody jingle bell rock on the sideline, I'm losing the plot. I'm going through someone's knees. But, Antonio wants to dance. Emad, who pissed on your strawberries, let him dance. Nah, mate, it's just not a football thing for me. Another thing I want to chat to you about, boys. We saw the Croatians get through after some of the worst penalties I've ever seen. Japan just, for all the good things they've done, those penalties were not part of it. And then we saw, for me, the biggest upset this morning, Morocco eliminating Spain on penalties again. Hakimi, the balls of steel on this guy to Panenka, a knockout World Cup penalty. I want to
Can we just delete Emad's comment quickly and block him for at least the next couple shows, all right?
Yeah, that's right. I want to ask you, boys, penalty shootouts in a World Cup, the stakes are high. Are you okay, Robbie, with penalties being used to decide this? We've had this chat before.
100%. I think it's just part of the theatrics of it's been around. It's a tradition, and like I said, it's the way they end the game. You have 90 minutes. You have an extra half an hour after that. If it can't come to the conclusion, it's a shootout, and I think everyone enjoys it, and it gives you it's a roller coaster of emotions depending on if it's your team, if it's not your team. I enjoy it. When I'm a neutral, I love watching
neutral. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't ask a Spanian.
I've seen us lose.
They needed more practice. They only hit 1,000 of them.
Exactly.
RJ, are you cool with penalties, or would you prefer, for example, I know Tom's saying here, golden goals needed over extra time.
No.
Are you cool with penalties? Like, if FIFA gave me a choice and said it's either a penalty shootout or it's the game just goes until someone scores, I think I would take the game just goes. That's what I would take.
From a neutral point of view, like it's great to see because there's an outcome, like you're guaranteed a quicker outcome, I should say, from a penalty. But ultimately, yeah, okay, mate, no worries. Because old mate hasn't missed one in the Champions League final. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Penalties are good for us as entertainment factor, but ultimately it doesn't really decide from a team sport point of view. Like when we used to play in school days, they used to actually take off 2 at a time before you got to that, rather than a penalty. And that's more accurate reflection of a team sport win-lose mentality. But look, it's a tradition. Like Rob said, we love it. Chelsea's won Champions League. Italy's won penalty shootouts. We've equally been burnt on the other side of it. And it's a huge call to actually take it away. But ultimately, look, there's a winner and a loser, and that's just the way it goes at the moment.
If you're watching this back on repeat, you let us know in the chat. Leave a comment. Penalty shootouts, yay, nay. Maurice, nice to see a new face in here, my man. Saying golden goal doesn't allow the trading of blows. Look, yeah, okay. We do have that with penalty shootouts. It is blow for blow. But George, probably one of the cleverest blokes I know, especially for a United fan. Penalties are an integral part of football. However, with this format, 70% of the time, the team kicking first wins. He'd rather first to 5 and win by 2 system. I actually don't mind that, but I think win by 2.
They tried the ABBA system a few years ago. I don't know why they didn't continue with it. I think that was the most fair, to be honest.
Yeah. What about this, RJ? MLS style?
I hate this.
Well, I suppose if we're talking fair, that's the whole point of penalties, though. It isn't fair in a team sport. It's fair because each has a churn each, but you're placing the outcome of a team sport on one or two people. So, and I know in a game you could say, oh, but one person scores a goal in regulation time, but the team actually either gets that person in position or defends the rest of the game. So it's an unfair system, but we've been living with it for so long and it's gotten us okay. So why change it?
Easy, boys. Easy. Look, we are going to move on to some predictions shortly. But before we do that, we've got a couple more things to discuss. So make sure you leave a like on the video. Make sure you drop a comment if you're watching it on repeat. But Robbie, need to give you some kudos. You know exactly why. You called it in our preview show. Portugal, in your words, not mine, were going to be better without Ronaldo. You thought that he would inhibit the team. And we saw this morning when he was dropped, there was massive, massive chatter around social media. And what happened? They were fantastic. Robbie, take a bow, son.
Yeah, look, it's not something I'm proud of, man. I just think it was you can nearly give kudos to Eric Ten Hag. It's just everyone that was calling him out from the start with dropping Ronaldo or not playing him or giving him as much minutes this season. I think it's brave from Santos, to be honest, because we all know the relationship and respect between the two and how long they've been in a relationship. But I think, he took a massive chance. It wasn't just with him, to be honest. It was with Cancelo as well and Dalla Win, which was another massive call for him. And both pulled off for him, man. And a 6-1 win against Switzerland is a massive statement, man, because Switzerland, again, one of those teams that can always be hard to break down. What was it like? They haven't conceded many goals. They're always in the round of 16. They knocked out France out of the Euros last year in the same time. So, to go 6-1 and really put them to the sword, like I said, it is a statement, and they're starting to peak at the right time. And a lot of people already asking the question, does Ronaldo start the next game? And for me, you can't drop the kid that's come on. This kid before today's start had 37 minutes of international time for Portugal. He's come on and he scored the first hat-trick of the World Cup in a knockout stage, man. So you can't drop him. And like I said, for me, Ronaldo is best at this situation as an impact player off the bench. He still can play a role. He's a clutch player at the end of the day. He's just not going to go from here to nothing. But
even that's debatable, Robbie, because he came on today, 17 minutes. These were the stats, factual stats. No shots on target, 5 meters offside for the goal he got disallowed, one goal kick he conceded, and no key passes. He touched the ball 7 times. These are some cold, hard facts, rightly or wrongly. But I don't know. He's really got to change his attitude if he wants to be that super sub, I think.
Look, I think he's winding down now. I mean, the fact that it's looking like he's going to go and play for Al Nassr, I think that says it all. This is a guy who's always wanted to challenge himself and play at the very pinnacle of football, at top teams. If he takes this contract, I almost feel like this is him saying, you know what? I'm 37. I'm human. Now, mate. I'm getting to the point now where my best football is well and truly behind me. Maybe that's what's happening. Remember, he's a couple of years older than Messi too. So when Messi is at 37 will be interesting. I don't see him playing in the top league either. I think both these guys need some respect. But I'm not going to lie. I am a little bit sad about what's happening with Ronaldo. I mean, there's so many people wanting to see him buckle. And I think the guy's a legend of the game. And I thought he was going to absolutely blow this comp away. But yeah, I was absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. He's been very poor.
And that's a good thing on Rob in terms of the good take. I think, and even in that same clip, that's the same thing we said also. Portugal is a more balanced team without him, and he'd very much be on the periphery. But that's because we've seen the blueprint this whole season as a result. So it's a credit that Santos followed that blueprint, if you will, and is trusting the better players that are around him because, as we've said, star players are not as good as a star team. So it's going to be interesting for Ronaldo because obviously I'm happy to see Messi doing well, of course, and I wasn't happy the other day, but I'm happy in general. But Ronaldo, I just can't believe how quick and sudden the decline has been. Like, to your point, Scott, I thought maybe he has a point to prove. He's got the shackles of Manchester United off his back now. And this guy can score goals like the best of them. Yeah. We know that. But for some reason, it's just not working out for him. It's working out for Portugal quite well. So where to from here? It's sad when you see a rival player. You know how they like to push each other, like Federer, Djokovic, etc. It's sad to see when one of your rivals starts to drop off in the way that he's dropping off at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. Look, before we wrap up this chat, just want to point. I want to point out one more comment. I like this comment from Maurice. I think it's a great comment. Ronaldo's carried the country on his back most of his career. It's time for them to repay the favour. I absolutely agree. I do think he has been the man who's carried Portugal. And I think it's time now for him to just accept that new role. You come on for impact, be a leader in the dressing room, and be a great influence. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, boys, before we get to our quarterfinals, the grade 8, the final 8, is there anything else you desperately wanted to get off your chest about the knockout fixtures that have just passed? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I just want to quickly give a quick shout out to some of the records been in the last few days and how crazy it is. How we haven't seen some of these records for, since 1958. I'll take Giroud, the oldest goal scorer at a World Cup. No one's done that since 1958. And what happens 3 days later? Pepe turns up today and scores a header. Like, it's just something's crazy like that. Or even with the goalkeepers, like in the history, I think there was 2 or 3 goalkeepers that have made three penalty saves in a shootout. And then, in 2 days today, there's been another 2 added to the list. So it's just crazy how records haven't been touched for so long, and then bang, just back to back, they're breaking them in a couple of days at a time.
Man, I think it's the heat, to be honest. I think it's so hot that different things are happening. That air conditioning's not cranking enough. Emad will tell you, mate, it's hard to play over there. RJ, anything you wanted to get off your chest, champion?
Just the fact that what we're seeing is you're getting a mixture of both the powerhouses that you expected to get through, but a couple of shock surprises with Morocco, of course, leading the charge. But it's nice to see the young contingent stepping up. So your Mbappe's, of course, your Bellingham's, continue to fly the flag. But like Rob said, there's some records being made by the more experienced stalwarts. Pepe, Thiago Silva, wow, how awesome has he been going. So it's nice to see a bit of diversity.
100%. And Emad said it here. Shout out to Qatar. It has been a great World Cup. The football has been great. I think it's been highly entertaining. And I haven't spoken to anyone over there who hasn't had a good time so far. So credit where it's due. Let's bring up the fixtures, boys. Let's get into this. We're not going to dawdle. We're going to do this quick fire. This is what it looks like at present. The first match that we'll be watching is Netherlands versus Argentina. We're all orange, aren't we? Surely.
100%.
100% not.
Yeah, I know. We know where RJ is.
Robbie, go, mate. Tell us what's going to happen, who wins, why.
Yeah, look, I won't drag on. I really want Orange to do it, but I do think Argentina will get through this. And it's just quick because Netherlands, for me, have been good, but I think this is going to be obviously a massive test. And like I said, Argentina haven't had a massive test either, but a lot of the Netherlands...
They played Australia, mate.
Yeah, I know. It was a good test. But look, I just think Argentina will get through this one. Like I said, I really, really hope the Dutch do it, but I do think it'll be 2-0 to Argentina.
RJ?
It's funny because you said before about there's so many people wishing the Ronaldo decline. I've been hearing this for ages now on the other side. And the guy doesn't do these fancy interviews. He just lets his football do the talking. And he showed us again the other day he can still play very, very well. I do expect Argentina to win, but this is their biggest test. Netherlands are flying under the radar. They're looking like an actual proper team, so credit to them, looking really tops. If Argentina get through here, this is the shot in the arm that I think they can go all the way. And as a Socceroo, as a proud Aussie, how nice would it be to say that you got knocked out again to the World Cup champion? So I'm back in Argentina to take this one 2-1.
I look back to the game the Socceroos had against Argentina. The way we were able to put them under a lot of pressure, particularly very late, the amount of chances we could create with not a very creative midfield, and we're not the paciest team in the world either, I think that would give the Netherlands a little bit of hope. I'm actually going with Netherlands to win it.
Love
But
you.
would you say, Scott, that we created a lot of chances, but did Argentina not miss a whole bunch of chances that should have seen them clear or not?
They did, but the Netherlands are a step up from us as well.
The Netherlands, I hope, with their wing backs. I really hope that's where they're really going to attack, because that's where they're, like I said, obviously, like someone like Dumfries, he was being great with his assists, his crossing. Gakpo's been on fire. Like, they're the players that need to step up,
Got some
even
exciting
Depay.
talent.
But very close game. I think, like I said, first game is a great game.
I wouldn't be shocked about this if, and we know, look, let's be real, FIFA and corruption hand in hand. An Argentina-Portugal final wouldn't shock me. Do you imagine the marketing on that? I think it would just be absolutely
the
insane.
last dance.
Yeah,
the internet would break.
Yep. I think the world would break, mate. But for that game, Netherlands to me will ruin the fairy tale. I'm going 1-0 to the Netherlands.
Love it.
What's your call, RJ? I didn't hear yours. Sorry, mate.
2-1, he said, I think.
2-1 to the GOAT-inspired Argentina.
Okay. Next one. Talk about riding your luck. Croatia. 3 of the worst penalties I've ever seen from Japan. I do think that the fatigue factor is really going to hit Croatia as this goes on. Brazil are flying. I can't see anything other than a Brazilian win. I think they're playing good football. And if they let their football, not their dancing, do the talking, I think Brazil will take this game 3-0. I actually think it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath. Sorry to my Crow mates. Robbie, what do you think, mate?
Sorry to my Crow mates. I completely agree with you, Borgie. 3-0.
What about you, RJ?
I think it'll be not as dominant and maybe not as much dancing, but Brazil to win 2-0.
Okay, interesting little fact here from Lexac. In 2010, Spain lost their first game, then went on to win the Cup. Argentina have lost their first game to Saudi Arabia. Will they go and win the Cup? We'll have to find out. That would set up an Argentina-Brazil semi if the majority are right. But what I'm really interested in, England, France. What a match this is going to be.
This has to be the match of this round, 100%.
Yeah, this is it. RJ, give us your thoughts, man. I'm so split on this.
It is a tough one, boys. Obviously, you're a bit biased to France, and rightfully so. I think they've got a stronger attack. They've got a pretty youthful and dynamic midfield, but the defense has a few question marks still. And I think England, they'll take a lot of heart out of that last result because they didn't really start off very well against Senegal, to be fair. But once the first one went in, that relieved a bit of the pressure, and then they started playing a little bit more risk-free, and then they became really powerful after that. So, mate, it's a really tough one. I think... Oh, Scott, you're probably not going to like this one. I think England's going to get through, mate. I think so. I do think England's going to scrape through this one, and it could be after extra time 2-1 to the Three Lions.
Well, look, I'll make this easy. I'll go next because I have the same scoreline as you. I have the same method, like extra time, but I think it's France. I just feel when I look at these two teams, I find France are just a touch more dynamic. Now, I feel like Giroud and Kane kind of cancel each other out. Both very good hold-up play, both good in the air, both quite experienced. But one man, Mbappe, it's going to come down to him. If they can shut him down, they win the match. But that's a big if, and I don't know if they can shut him down. He's looked in great form. He's looking hungry. We all know he wants to be the big dog, being stuck with Messi and Neymar at PSG. The limelight is well and truly his in this French team, and I think he'll step into it and take it. I'm going to go 2-1 France and Mbappe winner in extra time. Robbie, you're the deciding vote.
Yeah, look, like I said, as a neutral, I'm looking forward to this. This is like final quality, possibly this. And I think it just comes down to as simple as if Southgate plays a 3 at the back, for me, they lose. And I think if he does go lose with a 3 at the back, I think England absolutely rape him pretty much with just negativity. But if he goes with a 4, as he's done this whole tournament and goes toe to toe with the current champions, and he does lose, I think he will gain a lot more respect from the English public. But again, for some reason, I think England is just going to edge this. I keep thinking 1-0, but it's hard to see him keeping a clean sheet against an Mbappe in such hot form. Yeah, look, I'm just going to go to qualify to the next round or to edge it. I'm going to go England. So not too sure on the score for this one, but I just have a feeling if they win, it's they could make it to the final. But if this makes sense, I could see England beating France. But if it was to come England versus Brazil, I think France would be the more to beat them. If that makes sense.
You think France would have a better chance against Brazil?
Yes. If it was an England and Brazil final, I think that it would be easily Brazil. But if it was France and Brazil final, I think France would be. They just know how to win, and unfortunately for England, they haven't been they haven't won trophies. If you know what I mean, they're a bit like a Tottenham, if you know what I mean.
100%. They are the international Tottenham Hotspur. Let's move on. One more game. I'll keep this one quick. Morocco and Portugal. For me, the fairy tale's over for Morocco. They should be so proud of themselves for getting here, but I think Portugal will have too much and will take them 3-0. RJ?
Well, as long as Ronaldo doesn't play, then Portugal win convincingly, mate. In all seriousness, the starting 11 for this game, they were unbelievable. Morocco, they've been brave, they've been captivating, but I think the fatigue factor is also going to play into Portugal's hands. And yeah, I think Portugal take this one reasonably comfortable. I'll take probably a 3-1 to Portugal, I'd say.
Robbie?
Yeah, 3-1 I agree with as well. I just, like as I said from the start, Portugal, that team is just all quality. And mate, we're seeing today when they're bringing on people like Rafael Leao off the bench, and what a peach of a goal that is.
Wow.
Again, Bruno has stepped up this whole tournament. The new guy gets a hat-trick on debut pretty much. So I just, again, and when you got people like Dallo and Cancelo fighting for a spot, there's just so much depth in that squad. I think there's a lot of quality, and this could be a time for Portugal to go all the way as well. So 3-1 as well, Portugal.
We're going to have to wait and see. We know that we've got some jam-packed football coming up over the weekend. The boys can't wait to watch it. Our live chat, big ups to you. You have been brilliant this evening. Absolutely loving the conversation and debate. A little bit of banter too. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you smash the like button on the way out. Really helps with the algorithm. The boys will be back to look at the semi-finals. Make sure you keep your eyes on this World Cup. You ain't going to want to miss it. Take care, everyone. Good night, boys. Look after yourselves. I better get the video ready, hey.